I would like to personally thank every single one of our Monster Hunter World modding researchers. Ako, modeling artist. CDC Research, modeling research, also my apprentice. Arali 147, equipment researcher, animation researcher, also an ice developer. Argent, animation researcher, together with Laravel, animation researcher, monster researcher. ASD, equipment porting, monster researching, and animation mapping. Shuang Singh, data miner, CrazyT, modeling, materials, basically the forefather of everything that's visual modding in terms of model and materials. Crimson, the father of EFX, at least on the West. Dalagen, title screen editing, and also constantly helps around in the help channels. YOU map editing, file mapping, so much shit to list. Deathcream, also data mining, data mapping, uh, Emissary of Infinity, quest mapping, endless, cutscene and memory mapping, eternally dissolved, equipment mapping, Silvris, texture mapping, and helping with the safe editor back in base game. Ezekiel, visual modding, mainly model editing. Vandyrus, animation mapping, monster editing, some map research. Fate, audio research, Fexty, in-memory mapping, DMQW Fox, animation mapping, EFX mapping, model mapping, and research. Frestu, massive amounts of props to Frestu for basically running all of the equipment documentation back in base game. Fusion, writer of the Cyrilla toolkit, which we use to edit the GMD files, which are the text files in the game. Honey, data mining, Nekotaga, Yuhatora, monster editing, minor map editing in that sense, DMQWIs, so much stuff to list, including map editing, EFX editing, and also his console plugin. Isuka Moonlight, monster editing, carbon, model editing, Kira Nico, data mining, legendff, and broke the encryption for chunks, broke the encryption for the save file in Iceborne, tons of work in memory, Marcus 101RR, he's famous for his cheat table, massive amounts of work in memory mapping, helping around. Material, help with monster placement in maps in base game. Moonbunnie, massive amounts of work in terms of data mining, data disclosure, documentation, so much stuff to list. NACDN, monster editing, particularly in terms of monster AI editing, massive props to NAC, massive thanks to NAC. NSA Cloud 2, model editing, model and material documenting, Rat Hazard, shop list documentation, Silvris, so much stuff to list in terms of mapping, audio, VM, models, materials, etc., DMQW, Stage and Ryu, quest editing, and also EFX editing, static, model editing, and also amazing ports that he no longer wants to do. Strucker, his name precedes him, like thunder precedes lightning. No word, no description is probably needed. Tanuki help with safe editing and safe mapping. Budui, massive amounts of work in terms of base game safe mapping, and gargantuan regions of the safe are basically all thanks to him. Veos, UI mapping, views, his name is also revert as the great old one, no further explanation should be needed. Cephalurus, texture editing, Miralis, custom quest editing, monster editing, also together with Nak and Hariaka brought us the MHO files for which we are extremely thankful for. Hariaka, monster editing, he has moved on to the lands of Frontier modding, from we are told, or at least looking at the files of that deceased game. And finally, Faith, memory editing. And also like to take the opportunity to thank all of my patrons in Patreon. Their contributions have been extremely appreciated throughout all of this time since base game and also for Iceborne. It really means a ton to me what you guys have been, how you guys have been supporting me. I'd like to thank Deitzer, Han Jason, Gorbasan, Omega Enigma, Philip Hotzel, Soda, Jade Knight, Ryan Trotman, The Last Raven, Fexty, Honey, No Pants Mode, Alex Kaisa, Ruffle Dog, Abraham Villaseñor, Broken Lia, Arnold Mueller, Serkev, Alexander Schultz, Peter Portela, Christian Caulfield. That's
Yeah.
All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Loading Screen, a show where two people talk about video games, get drunk, and kind of make fun of everything in between. My name's Jin Fury if you're watching for the first time, and now I'm going to turn it over to my heterosexual life mate, Phemeto.
Hey people,
Chug 'em.
I'm Fem. Y'all know me. It's my YouTube channel. Yeah. Nothing really special going on with me, but today we got the return of Asterisk Ampersand, the
legend,
the modding god himself, the guy who controls all Monster Hunter mods. If you have done a mod, you probably passed through his work at one point or another. We had him on our second podcast, which was, I think, almost a year ago at this point, and we got him
what
back.
a year it's been.
Yeah. And we got him back again today, looking better than ever. Thank you for coming along, Aster. How's it going, man?
Hi, I am AsteriskAmpersand. I make mods, tools for modding, and other things which I am not legally allowed to disclose after a binding legal agreement. Welcome all, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, guys, we're going to be drinking today. This is going to be a third time. We're going to be drinking a lot today to kind of mull with you along. Today, I started off with Blue Moon. I had a long work week, so I wanted to just kind of have like that little taste in my mouth, something I feel like I earned a little bit, and then kind of roll it up. Yes, it is.
Nice. I am drinking a 2008 Gypsy Noir, which is a Sangiovese and something else. It's Sangio and what? Sangio and Merlot? Oh, Movedre.
Can't read, huh?
Yeah. So, good red wine blend. I drink my red wine. Love my red wine. Aster, so that your parents... do you have your jar of pee? He does!
Hey, we got the pea jar! We got the pea jar! All right, bring it back. Yeah.
Please.
Lemonade.
Okay, what is that stuff for real?
Pisco piss, right?
No, it's lemonade. This time it's lemonade.
Oh.
Pisco is alcoholic lemonade. This is just normal lemonade.
You could have spiked it, but okay, fair enough. You do you. Cool. Yeah, Jin, your work life has been quite ridiculous lately.
Yeah, my stuff's been wild, man, but I'm glad to be back, talk about the runs, talk about some of the cool stuff coming from Asterisk. I definitely have noticed over the past little bit of period that I haven't been able to play and game it up, how much I just miss talking about video games. I think that's one of the coolest things probably that you get out of the entire medium is just the discussion with your friends. Probably why we do this show, and everything like that. And I think that's such a cool thing to have that be such a big part of the medium, like actual discussion about the game inside and out. And this is pretty much any video game. It just doesn't even have to relate to only Monster Hunter. To be removed from it for a little while, like there's definitely a hole, man. Like video games are fun to talk about. Like they're entertaining. So I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to be here today. This is gonna be a good one.
I mean,
Cool.
You're basically just describing art at that point, right? Like it's a medium which you can comment on, and there's some amount of substance to be debating upon.
And
It's
art. I agree. Video game is art. Absolutely. Video games are art. There's no denying that. 100%. I mean, you just look at Shells of the Colossus. I mean, that's the game that they used to prove to the Supreme Court that video games are art, that they can't censor them, however long ago that was. There's some breathtaking scenery, imagery, animation, details. I mean, the stuff that I've seen in video games, man, in 35 years is fucking wild. To go from where we went to where we are now, it's weird to go back and look like 20 years ago or 10 years. I mean, for you guys who are younger, probably even like 5 years ago, like see like when video games, like how they used to look, quote unquote. And like when Final Fantasy VII originally came out 15 years ago or however fucking long it was, 20 years ago, it had like the best graphics. And I thought that was like real life. Like in my head, it looked like real life. You know what I'm talking about? I was like, oh my God, this looks so real.
Well,
and then you look back and look
sceneries for sure.
I mean everything, even the polygons, like just like the shitty animated ones. You're like,
so
oh my God, this looks so cool.
But you don't have to go to retro games. There's games with those aesthetics coming out today because people are like Shovel Knight is a relatively modern game and it has the old timey aesthetic.
Yeah,
but it's got good gameplay too. That's the difference. It's got real good gameplay.
I was always like,
all games also had good gameplay.
When we were first transitioning between like the 2D to 3D space, we had like really shitty 3D graphics and polygons. I was always like, why would everyone fucking want this? Like the good 2D sprites look amazing. And now we have like fucking, graphics these days. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Stuff gets better.
I agree. There was definitely a long period where they were trying to shove 3D graphics on everybody and it didn't work. Like it didn't look nearly as good as some of the 2D stuff that was coming out.
There were those transition titles like Sonic Adventure and Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time.
64 was dope.
Okay,
Sonic Adventure.
Everything on the Nintendo 64 was great. There's so much good shit on that console.
Doom 64 sucked. It's the only bad Doom. Out of all the Dooms, Doom 64 is the only bad Doom.
There's also Castlevania 64, which
I prefer Doom 3 over Doom 64, yeah.
Yeah, like Doom 64 is the only bad one. Like I don't know how it happened. I have no idea why. It's just not good. Like
StarCraft 64 was pretty bad.
So I love StarCraft 64 just because I think like it wasn't good, right? Like it wasn't good. I think it was like one of those games like I only had for like I had like only that game for a summer. Like I don't remember what happened. Like we went somewhere for like 3 months and like that was the only video game I had, so I had to like it. Star Fox 64. That game, it was it needed some attention in development. I'll just leave it at that.
Like that whole generation where they transitioned from 2D to 3D, like it was a massive leap in terms of gameplay. Like the difference of adding one dimension in terms of development time just for assets, but also like for controlling. Like early 3D titles were horrible to control. Mario 64 is different because it was the first game that kind of nailed it without completely fucking everything else up. Like there were a ton of 3D titles, which was basically like, we have a 2D title. What do? We add one more dimension. And a lot of 2D platformers just fucking died because they added one dimension, the game super tanked. They had invested everything into making the 3D title. And companies went out of business for trying to go into the 3D space from 2D games because 2D is super easy to make platformers in terms of like relative complexity.
Mm-hmm.
3D is much harder, and getting controls right took a long while. Like Mario 64 has amazing controls, but for example, for Ocarina of Time, there's still the game files have the targeting system was borrowed from Star Fox 64. There's an Arwin model which was used for the set locking.
I remember that.
And like a lot of those things are like they're really subtle insofar as when you're playing it just feels good. You don't really notice why it feels good, but if you go back and it's missing, you realize how much we've evolved in terms of being able to control 3D characters, not just like graphics wise, but also gameplay wise. I feel games have evolved a shit ton. Like Monster Hunter is also quite notable. If you go back to the first entry where you have not even tank controls, you attack with a stick. At the time, like it probably seemed like a good idea. On hindsight, no, please, no, don't make me go back.
Yeah,
that's probably how
Monster Hunter needs to die in a fire. It's bad. I will say though, Nintendo nailed transitioning from 2D to 3D space. Mario was really good. Zelda going from Zelda 2, Zelda 1, Zelda 2 to Ocarina of Time. Metroid Prime is still the best transition from a 2D platformer Metroidvania game to a first-person shooter. Fucking, it's still got the platforming. It's still a solid Metroid game. The gameplay was so good. So good.
It really was. It's one of the only games to change genre that stayed good. Like you think what just came out? That Darksiders one, Darksiders Genesis order, where they try to do like a Diablo style. It's not good. It's not good. It's just a whack Diablo one. No. Yeah. You can't do that. And yet they did it, and they did it so fucking well that I bought every single sequel, and I'm still sitting here begging for Metroid Prime 4. Like, just fucking... I know it got delayed again for fucking...
It'll never be out. It'll be like Ava 4. It'll never be out.
But then you have Other M.
Yeah.
Other M. The other abomination where they try to do like a third person.
Gameplay-wise, it was fine.
I don't think there's a bad Metroid game. I'm just that biased, I think. I just don't think there's a bad one. Like,
Generation Forces.
Yeah, Generation Forces.
Okay, okay. But can you call that a Metroid?
Hunters, though, on the DS, Metro Prime Hunters was great. I love multiplayer in that. I played that in high school.
They need to do more with the characters. Yeah. They need to do more with the characters. The one dude is supposed to be... Isn't he the villain in the most... Like, isn't he like going to be our rival in the new one?
I don't know anything about what 4 is, so... But... Yeah.
Well, at the end of whatever the most recent one is in canon, like there's the ship that takes off after Samus's ship, and it's one of those hunters, the green dude, I think. I can't remember which one it is. It's the one that looks the best. And I thought that they said that was going to be some shit coming down the road. I could be wrong.
Got it.
It's not Boba fucking Fett. Oh my god. Oh, Mandalorian dude. Apparently, leak is Pedro Pascal walked out like halfway through the season, and they were like scrambling to figure out what to fucking do. Like,
oh shit,
there was some creative differences. Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but like that just got leaked out, and I saw some shit. That's wild because he was definitely he was going to be carrying a part of that show. I think as cliche as it is, that show took off because people wanted that good guy who like did the right thing. Like you don't see that anymore because everyone's got shades of gray or evil. They're trying to shove something else down our throat. It was cool to see like that guy take care of the little baby and then help out good people. He's just a good hero. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely don't want to lose that. Like I thought that show kicked a lot of ass, man. Like yeah, if y'all haven't seen that, definitely watch that shit. Oh my god, Mandalorian.
But we'll watch Disney fuck it up like everything else they touch.
My bro. Speaking of fucking it up, over half a year has passed for us. The apocalypse has come, and we're kind of all making it through the COVID situation. The game has definitely changed. Aster, let me start off by asking you, how much has modding changed? Going down the detailed list, I know that you have a big community that kind of works with you in Junction, and you guys get a lot of stuff done in a lot of time frames that a lot of people wouldn't even be able to comprehend. So why don't you just walk us through that and just talk about, the evolution of and kind of where we are right now with modding.
So by the end of December, we figured a way of getting some of the Iceborne early files. And one of the things that Capcom... So there's things that haven't changed. For example, the community is still... Like, the fact that we had established community helped a lot for that transition. But when Iceborne hit, it really fucked us up. Because January was hell. I took like 2 weeks of vacation because I knew that shit was going to go down because I don't expect Capcom not to fuck things up. And I ended up using all of them just basically for undoing the shit that Capcom had done. Along like, I'm saying but it's really like the community went at it and I was part of that effort, which is Capcom encrypted the chunks, which meant that we couldn't take the game files like in plain. Originally, we used some of... Capcom forgot to encrypt one of the chunks, so we used those to break down parts of the encryption process. Then Moonbunnie and I went over the keys and tried to generate the entire decryption sequence, and then legendff was the one that finally like completely figured it out. He produced all of the key sets, and then Jodo and Views worked on the unchunking. So for a long while, we only had like only some of the game files. We could like compare them with the originals, etc. And a lot of work was basically like, okay, we've got one more file decrypted. Someone go look at it, while the other people look on how to break more files. Capcom disabled native PC. It's why we have Strucker Loader, praise be Strucker. They reintroduced the CRC, the cyclical redundancy check, which is it's a measure that looks for tampering within the game's code. It's not de novo. De novo is separate. The CRC basically looked for people cheating, but Capcom is incredibly inept at it, so you can just cheat engine and do whatever the fuck you want, and the CRC just affects you if you are modding things in memory, which is annoying as fuck.
I like also, that's funny that you could use cheat engine and bypass the anti-cheat system. It's just like...
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Sorry, go ahead. It was just funny.
Another thing, another wonderful thing that happened is that Capcom kind of fucked the game, or more than fucked, it unfixed the game. So when the game launched in August, back in 2018, 2 years ago, the game had issues. Everyone remembers launch day Monster Hunter World PC was not the best experience. A lot of people don't remember it because they couldn't play the game for a while. But they did actually try to fix shit. They fixed things in the Kulve patch. Networking was basically completely redone for Kulve, which is why that update took so long. Around December, they started fixing major bugs and patching some things. There were a lot of hot fixes, which we had already implemented, and they were just like they were co-opting the same ideas and making them official. For example, the texture patch. And then came the Legend update, which was massive in terms of performance because they fucking finally fixed a ton of rendering code, a lot of UI code, etc. Come Iceborne, they basically undid a shit ton of stuff, and performance went to shit. So and the CRC made it even worse.
So I was going to say, when they did Iceborne, do you think they started from an older build or like the original build?
Yes.
So, oh god.
Almost assuredly, because remember that when Iceborne hit, it reintroduced bugs that had been fixed, like the CV cancel.
Okay, I forgot when Ice first hit. Did we have the torch bug stacking, the torch pod stacking bug still in? I thought there was.
I don't think so.
I don't remember if people even tried it. I know that the weapon glitches were back. So our fear is that they were working off an older build for Iceborne, which is why for console it isn't that noticeable. For PC it was massive because PC had like actual work and fixes done by someone with a brain, which in Capcom is a real rarity. So the CRC didn't help in that regard either. It completely fucks over performance. It's calculated every single frame. It does heavy-duty calculations over wide ranges of the game's memory. So it's retardedly heavy on CPU. And it's not just like performance, it's also CPU usage. The CRC accounts for between 10% to 40% of your CPU usage while in game. So
Explains
it's
why
not
everyone
that
was
the
capped out.
yeah, so it's not that just that you drop frames, but it's that your CPU is going to be running consistently higher, which will obviously cause issues with like temperature. If you are hitting temperature throttles, you'll be seeing it performance sick. But anyway, the game shouldn't be handling like 80-90% of CPU capacity on modern CPUs.
Right.
Like if you remove the CRC, it goes down to 40-30, which is
I remember
much
when
more reasonable.
first came out on PC. Like one of the first couple things that were added was the CRC bypass, which completely gutted CPU usage. Yeah, it dropped from like 90% down to like 50%. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was originally on January. Caliber from the Fearless Revolution was the one that coded the CRC bypass. Then on the February patch, they actually toned down the Strucker implemented the CRC bypass because he needed to, because the injection that he does in memory for the loader required removing it. On February, the Capcom didn't remove it, but they dialed it down so that it didn't cover the memory region that we were using for the native PC loader. So the CRC bypass kind of died out. Caliber still was making like private versions for a trainer, but it wasn't circulated anymore because it was assumed that it had been dialed down enough. But around May, for ICE development, Moonbunnie and I went back to look at the CRC because we actually needed the CRC bypass to fix the Bogan DPS ticks issue, which another wonderful piece of Capcom coding. So to do this, the region where we were injecting it's big enough that it actually hits part of the CRC. So we decided like just nuke the CRC. There's no reason to keep it. Moonbunnie went back into Caliber's original tool, figured out what it was doing, and then optimized a way of, because the Caliber bypass was a really rough, it was a quick job. Moonbunnie actually went, analyzed it properly, and saw what was being done, and made it so that the CRC is just basically gone. It goes from mapping these gigantic memory regions and calculating the checksum of them into just like a single 4-byte region.
Oh wow!
So, and we needed it to be able to do the DPS tick fix. But it ended up being that we massively improved performance because the CRC was still a fucking issue around March, May.
So is that basically what the performance fix mod is? Yeah.
The performance booster plugin is basically removing the CRC code.
Is that it?
Capcom, we're removing the programmer's code to actually improve the game considerably. So those were the three big things. It was they encrypted the chunks, so to be able to get files from the game, we had to start decrypting them. Thankfully, we went for that for like half of January. Then it was native PC disabling, which again, it was undone quickly. Capcom tried to patch it out by doing retarded shit with DLLs. They failed and they were stricken down to the ground. They reintroduced a CRC, which fucked up performance. They removed fixes that they had already coded for base game. And they changed some file formats here or there, but that's neither here nor there. It's really minor. It was like basically adding what we call the Iceborne bytes, which is you add 4 more bytes so that the file is not compatible with base game files for some reason. So something that was big during this is that if this had been launch game, I'm not sure if the modding community would have gotten to where it is right now.
Because the files were encrypted from the get-go too. Yeah, from the get-go they were just like compressed. Now they were compressed and encrypted. Yeah. So part of how we got on our feet so quick is because of the size of the community and the fact that we already knew who could do what. So we were organized, and to some degree people have like when the modding community started, everyone was just a generalist in a way. Like it's just that you look at memory, you hope that it kind of looks like the files you're working on, and you go from there.
Well, now we have people that are focused on like weapons. We have people that are focused on animations. We have people that are focused on models. People that are focused on memory mapping out. So the fact that we have we know that there's someone that specializes in that. It's massively helpful and was massively helpful in getting like the whole thing going. Because when Iceborne hit, contrasted to base game where the community started building, but we didn't really get into like the full fledged of it until like October-ish. Iceborne was broken in basically January. It was like a massive effort, but it got completely wrecked in terms of like blowing open what we could do with it.
Well, that's good to hear. So after Iceborne came out and you actually, gutted the thing and got, modding back up and running, do you discover any more like crazy horror stories with Capcom code, like with all the constant checking of files and tell me, like the whole Frostfang thing? Like Frostfang was leaked super early. How the hell did that happen?
So with Capcom, there are only horror stories. Every time someone goes into memory,
is there nothing good? Do you have any like saying like, okay, this was done well? Any stories like that?
God, that's so much harder to say. Like I see older games. I've seen the older games, the empty framework games. I've seen Frontier. And I say, thank fucking Jesus, this is not Frontier. But that's more like Capcom was much worse. They're slightly better. It's the difference between, I don't know, your child falling from the 3rd floor and hitting his head on every single tree branch on the way down and then splattering, and your child falling down through the stairs and hitting his head in every single step, but not splattering.
Okay, one of those is significantly better than the other one.
Yes, but your child is still brain damaged, like the average Capcom programmer. So what happened with Frostfang was that they left it as an icon. There was one icon for variant. So people were saying like, the joke was that Velcana was Ice Kushala. So and Kushala was already and we also had fucking Ice Legiana, even if Legiana was already made of fucking ice. Right. So the joke was, this is going to be Ice Barioth. And then some Silvris and Nag said, Monster Hunter Explorers has this monster called Frozen Barioth, I think. And we stopped looking at the SME and said like, wait, Ice Barioth might actually be a thing. Because the icon fit, there was a folder for a Barioth variant. So that's how Frostfang leaked. And then Lyra went and trolled people by actually making a fake model that people thought that was real.
The model wasn't the clickbait YouTube videos came out with it.
The icons were there. They left the icons. It's not the only thing that they've left, but it wasn't so much a Capcom mess. That was just like they forgot something in the files. On the other hand, like the horrors in the code are massive. All of the performance is shit because of coding. It's not an issue of the game is graphically demanding because the game is not bad looking, but it's not exactly fucking Crysis. But,
right, yeah, I mean the maps are small enough that it's not like it's got to render a ton of shit.
Well, it is rendering a ton of shit because they are not doing culling properly. So there's like 3 branches of fucked up. There's fuck ups in terms of code, code execution, like when you check for things. There's terms of rendering pipeline inefficiencies, which is the GPU side. And then there's just general Capcom. So general Capcom, for example, is the CRC. It's like you fucked your own performance for no reason because cheats still work. In fact, cheats worked before modding worked.
Yeah, they were working day one, like didn't stop anything.
Yeah. No. So coding inefficiencies are shit like what Capcom does with weapons. And your damage. Every single frame, that is every single fucking tick of your CPU clock, the game recalculates literally fucking everything. The game is looking for things that cannot change mid-hunt, like your armor skills, not in terms of activation, like just the list of armor skills, it creates a new one every single execution frame.
That's ridiculous.
There's so much shit that should be handled based on events and triggers or like interrupts, but it isn't because Capcom. And it completely fucks over performance. The fact that it's checking every single fucking frame for every single armor skill. The fact that it looks for I think monster IDs in every single frame, even if the monster cannot change on the quest. There's so many things which are recalculated every single frame that don't need to be, because they should just be event-based. Our theory is that it's a problem that Capcom doesn't know how to program doesn't know about parallel programming. Empty framework is a it means empty framework stands for multi-threaded framework, meaning parallel programming. It's surprising in terms of when it happened, because it was around the 2000s. The fact that a Japanese company, a Japanese video game company, was making a multi-threaded engine back in 2000 was mind-blowing. One, because Japanese companies are notoriously horrible about it, but two, because it even within the Western sphere, it wasn't the first one, but it was relatively daring to go into that sort of mentality back when the focus on CPUs was single-threaded performance max.
So I mean, that's a good thing for Capcom. They branched out and tried something.
Yeah, the problem is that their programmers do not know how to program in parallel. So the issue is that they treat parallel programming as single-threaded programming, where you check every single frame because things might have been changed by another thread. Normally, you use something called control structures. This is parallel programming 101. You use semaphores, you use locks, you use queues to communicate between threads, to send signaling. Capcom, those structures aren't present in memory, so it means they aren't using them. And our theory is that all of these checks are done because what's happening on one thread might be changed by what's happening on another thread. Normally, you use a queue to queue up events so that you can communicate between threads. Or you use a semaphore to say, like, you cannot use this resource now. Or you use event-based programming, where one thread will send an event and the other one has to respond to it. The issue is that they don't. So what do you do if the state of things can change because something else is like another thread is running simultaneously? You just check every single frame. It's the solution insofar as, yeah, it will get things done.
So it was like slapping flex tape on it rather than actually doing a fix.
No, because flex tape actually closes the hole.
+1 the flex tape. You did your job. Is it
like thanks for being you?
There's so much junk in terms of like where Capcom keeps things. For example, weapon animations. Moonbunnie found that half of them are basically hard-coded, and there's the way files communicate. Sometimes there's things that are in files which make no sense because they'll never change, and there's things which are on the exe which make no sense because one would expect that during development that shit would change constantly. It's a mess of where they keep things. In terms of like, this thing should be controlled by files. Nope, exe. This thing should be controlled by exe because it will never change. Nope, it's on a file. You can change it. It's mental. But then you look at Frontier, and in Frontier, no. Monster empty framework for the older games, which includes up to Frontier, is fucking insane. Recursive file formats. You at first glance you cannot tell at what the fuck you're looking at because the entire game is just one gigantic file that has all of these subfiles inside. It's mental packing. It's fundamentally unworkable. I was helping with some details concerning animations, and the way they do animations is also basically homemade. I don't understand how someone could code an exporter for that. I don't understand what fucking software provider sold their soul to the table and said like, yeah, we'll make that for you. and that's I think the upside of Monster Hunter World is that because they have to work with so much modern technology, yes, a lot of their code is going to be shit. And you're going to notice a performance impact because there's a lot more code going on. But it also forces them to not be so subhuman about the fucking way they work with files. Because at the end of the day, the physics is done by Havoc. So yes, you can have super trash in terms of files, but at some point you'll have to convert it into something that into an industry standard. So it forces them to civilize, much like the Russians aristocrats during the 1800s.
So I know in the base game, like the files are even broken up into different languages from just a bunch of different people working on it. Was Iceborne the same way?
That's the monster files. The monster AI files are noticeable in that they are obviously subcontracted, which we kind of knew because of inside sources. It is clear that it's not a main office with programmers working together who's making each monster. It's basically subcontracted. Like this one goes to California, this one goes to South Korea, this one goes to North Korea.
That's weird. So
it's noticeable because of your for monster AI files, consistency is all over the fucking place. Insofar as like there's a master file which basically has the generic versions of actions. So most of the AI files are supposed to not have actual code on them. They are just supposed to link back into the master file when you have to call something, and then the master file goes back to you. So that way you don't have like, let's say byte, monster byte. Monster byte should be on a master file like the action. And if combat AI needs a byte, it just calls the master file, and then the master file does a byte and then it comes back. So that way, when you have like Monster and Rage, if you want roar and bite, you just go into the master file does its thing, and then you go back. That's reusability.
Okay.
This is not true. Like some monsters just don't do this. They have all of the code in each individual file, and the master file is basically barren.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so that's how you know it was done by someone else, like on an isolated
some monsters
incident.
are 50-50. Some monsters are like 100% in one side. It's really inconsistent, and you notice, for example, with the condition, it's not just different programmers. It's all outright people on different teams doing things on their own, and then just YOLOing everything back into the game. You can also notice it with the models. There's models where you can go like, okay, this was done by someone with a degree, someone that has industry experience, and this was done by a fucking drunk monkey, and someone that doesn't understand 3D modeling can tell you why that shit is wrong. Please take it away. Please burn it with fire. The worst example of that is Dodogama. Dodogama
yeah. What about Dodogama? Dodogama's the best monster.
He never did anything to you. Why are you bad-mouthing Dodogama? What the fuck?
The 3D model was done by someone that had a lobotomy done to them through their fucking eye socket with a straw.
But it's cute though.
Is that why the belly and stuff distorts and fucks up every time it walks?
The design is great. I am not objecting to the most adorable monster. It's the icon of the modding server. Like I have it on my Patreon. Dodogama is great. I love Dodogama. But the 3D model is, to call it shit, is an insult to the thing that comes out of the ass of fucking wild animals. The model is fundamentally wrong. The person that did this should be taken to the back and shot on the head repeatedly, and then their body should be cremated, and then the ashes should be thrown into the pool at Fukushima, the nuclear reactor pool, so that they ensure that every single fucking atom of their body is removed from existence, split into subatomic particles that can no longer be traced to the creature that produces. The model
do you know this dude?
No.
What is wrong with the Dodogama?
If I did, nobody would know him anymore. The model is done fucking wrong. The topology is disastrous. Like the way that normally when you model, the way that you distribute the vertices is done in such a way that it's easy to animate and to work with. The Dodogama model is fundamentally, it's a miracle that it works in game. Like I cannot explain why it works. This shit is like giving, I don't know. There's no word for it. It's giving abstract art to Renaissance Italy. Like they're just gonna say like, this is no. Why is there a crossbeam going in the middle of a toilet? The topology is insane and it's unworkable. So if you want to mod Dodogama, you have to basically redo the model, which is what Lyra basically did for modding Dodogama. She basically redid the entire Dodogama model because 99% of it is useless. And it's a miracle that it even works in game.
The Dodogama we have for the Monster Hunter Stories mod that Fandris made, is that a custom Dodogama that Lyra
if there for stories, I don't think so, but I know that Lyra was working on making a one from scratch. I'm not sure how far she went because making a fucking model,
like why make a new Dodogama?
Because if you want to I don't know, change proportions, animate it differently, add animations, you're fucked. You cannot add animations because you have to work with the model. And if the topology is shit, your animations are going to look like shit.
Gotcha.
The one in the game works because it's the stars aligned.
I've been using Dodogama in the Stories mod, and I want Lyra to put a little cowboy hat on him and a little saddle. But after hearing all this shit about Dodogama, maybe that's a bad idea.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that one. I know we got, Fatalis coming out, and that's going to be the last title update, which means we're not really going to get anything else according to their, little drawing board that they've given us. Are we finally going to start getting some cool stuff, Aster? Like AGS decos and other cool things, or are we going to just sit here and kind of let this game slowly die off? What's your plan?
Wait, are you saying that we are not outputting great stuff right now? Are you implying
No. I'm
that
just
our
saying.
work is
Jin doesn't know because Jin doesn't play Monster Hunter.
I do play Monster Hunter. I just don't talk about it because I'm not going to get attacked by everybody.
Okay, all right.
Jin just plays it with his children in multiplayer.
Yeah, they love it. You guys know my kids love Monster Hunter.
They love
it. Yeah, they love it.
So for us, for some modders, it does change things considerably because they no longer have to update. So a lot of modders that don't publish mods or don't release them or just have project standby will probably finish them because they no longer have to update shit every single patch.
That's cool.
I'm also probably going to go back and fix some mods that I've just stopped updating because fuck updating every single patch and fuck Nexus. The uploading mods to Nexus is horrible sometimes. But in terms of what goes on, I think that for example, adding weapons, adding items, which is something that Fem was excited about for Ice, it's now much more viable because we don't have to do we could always do it and then just manually every single patch add the entries back in. But this means that we just do it once. So it's much more tempting. It's much more viable to do it. There's no risk of fucking people's saves between updates because there will be no more big updates. In theory, we still believe that 80 Safi is coming.
Well, right.
Even if Capcom hasn't
they'll
announced
probably
it.
do arc-tempered other monsters, but they're not going to add more monsters to the game. This is it. They'll do small stuff like that, but that's it.
Well, 80 Safi, for example, we know that the skills exist. We know that there's empty slots for the awakens. Well, there's at least one skill which is unused, which is a Gunland skill, because Gunlands and Capcom name a more iconic hate relationship.
Yeah, right. That's a hate relationship right there.
But there's also empty slots which line up with it's attack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Empty slot, defense 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Empty slot, next skill, and you can see a pattern of there's obviously shit planned there, okay. and it's pretty clear that where they were going in terms of there's also the pure Dracolite, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's worth 100 points or something. I think our current cap is a 50-point Dracolite.
So definitely they have plans for 80 Safi. If they're going to make a big deal of it out, for example 80 Kulve, which was considerably different, or if it's just no, it's Safi with bigger numbers.
No, it's going to be Safi with bigger numbers, but then it's only the last phase because that's how Capcom does arc-tempered fights. It's just we'll cut out the shitty part and then you'll just do the last part.
You have now triggered so many teams that run Katie and Safi.
Okay, first off, Safi fucking sucks. I don't care who you are. Safi is a horrible siege. KT was better, 100%. The only reason why people hate KT is because you had to grind her so fucking hard for the equipment, whereas Safi, it's pretty easy to get the equipment you want. It's not that bad. That's it. The KT fight was way better than Safi. Arc-tempered Kulve, way better than Safi. Fucking AT Kulve is great.
Well, you're comparing a base game fight to an Iceborne fight. So it could also be that you hate so many of the Iceborne elements that your comparison is already off by default.
Yeah.
And also when Katie hit much closer to the games the original Monster Hunter release. When
it
Safi
was 2 months after. It was early.
When Safi hit, you were already playing for 1 year and a half. So it's I think it's okay. Let's say something positive about Capcom. I think it's commendable that the game has lasted as long as it does, especially with the level of activity in the community. It's rare for a game to, after 2 years of launch, to be on the level of Monster Hunter in terms of how many people are in and how much the community is active. And even if it's there's always this churn of people burn out and then they return. The fact that people can return for a game that's PvE, it's not PvP, which there's no active patches that completely change. Well, there's active patches that completely change the meta, but it's not active patches that completely change the meta every single fucking weekend because they don't know how to balance. Blizzard. It's actual content patches.
Blizzard.
So in that regard, I feel that Kulve was much closer to release. People were still in the honeymoon phase. Safi is much closer. It's much further in. People already had they had already served in time in KD jail, and they were like, "This is another fucking siege," because the fight it's much more active. There's no phase 1 like KD where you're just like, I mean, the speedruns of KD are insane. Like I think that's the before TSC did his shit right now in the last few months, it was the single most technically impressive in terms of planning in the entire game from my eyes.
Easily.
The way KD was scripted by speedrunners was fascinating. It was actively thrilling to watch the developments because of how much depth was basically part of it is because it's one of the longest fights because there's a lot of minor it's much closer to a full game run. There's a ton of minor optimizations that add up, and even if you kind of don't do it one perfectly, you still have so much, and the hand is long enough that it evens out. So you don't get all of this concentrated autism in just grind for specific openings and shit, and the fight is only 40 seconds
right now,
to 1 minute.
Because that's all Electron is.
But instead you got long-term planning where the actual strat was different and all of these small optimizations add up. Also, it was a group. Even at the end, we got single-player 80-80. Fuck, Mirales with a great sword just grinding this shit for months. That guy really went in hard. But the fact that most of the KD optimization was done in multiplayer also means that people weren't burning out as hard as people normally do on a single monster, because you have other people to suffer with.
Yep, that definitely helps for sure. God, fuck, I was gonna say something about KT, but I totally forgot. Oh, okay. So with Fatalis coming back, do you think that Fatalis is going to be more of a Latreon fight, or do you think they're going to do, because they kind of hinted something crazy about its armor set and stuff? Do you think it's going to be more of a upgrade thing like the Safi Siege, where you have to keep fighting Fatalis?
I'm not going to enter. We have stats for Latreon weapons, and there doesn't seem to be some sort of there's not this 2,000 weapons that we saw when KD hit. There was a gigantic list of when KD hit PC. There was a full patch where there were so many dummy weapons. There were 128 dummy weapons that you went yeah, that's KD. For Safi, the same happened. You had a patch where there were so many dummy weapons, and you went yeah, that's all for Safi. And then you realize oh shit, they coded the mechanic like this. Why, Jesus, why? But for Latreon, it doesn't seem in the file that there's going to be this 1,000 weapons. You're going to grind for them and upgrade them. I feel for Fatalis, they are still going to do multi-parts. The first part of it has to be a siege, because it's almost by tradition. It's this gigantic black dragon attacking a castle.
Right.
I know speedrunners will hate the idea, but most speedrunners, but as players, the idea of you have to fucking siege the dragon before you get into combat is not that bad. It's just that if you do the hunt 100 times, it starts getting horrible.
Well, and Ryan, that's more of the this game's not meant to be a speedrunner game, and we're the 1% of the 1%. So, I mean, it makes sense that obviously they're not going to cater to us, and having just a single engaging, thrilling fight is definitely better than having one that's speedrun friendly.
Yeah, and with Latreon, we know that Capcom has enough brain cells left after all of these lobotomies to kind of design an encounter that's enjoyable. So
they could still make good stuff.
Yeah, so I think that they're going to split it in, there's going to be at least two parts. A part which is just basically siege weapon, the fucking gargantuan black dragon coming toward the castle. And they'll probably have to have a phase which is actual, okay, you can now fight this thing. Because otherwise, if it's just siege all the time, it would be Sora Magdaros 2.
Yeah.
And Fatalis was kind of Sora Magdaros 0.5 when he launched, but I hope that Capcom, we know that they can do better, and they are trying to do better, so there's hope there.
Right. So after this whole thing is said and done, we're done with Fatalis. That's last big update. Obviously, Capcom keeps cranking out Monster Hunter games, every year, every other year. We'll do spin-off titles probably next year. What do you think people are going to be doing between this and the next Monster Hunter? Do you think modding is going to take off and people are going to stick around for this? Or are people going to ban this right away after Fatalis? Or how do you think that's going to play out?
Well, modding has already taken off, and modding is consistently high in terms of throughput. for base game, there was this ramp up period where people started getting in, and then like come December, we broke through model formats, and then January, February, CrazyT broke through material formats. I help a little there. Then we started getting, like, I started making editors, and shit started coming out, and like it was on full force after 1 year. But it was like this gradual thing where the community was building up. Well, Iceborne hit, we were already on full steam ahead. We were just plowing for shit, and like I don't think we really stopped. And Iceborne has seen like a lot of things which we didn't have in base game, like Crimson with EFX.
A lot of things. Crimson, praise Crimson. Fucking Crimson's effects are amazing.
We went from hex editing shit. Well, I mean, Crimson still hex edit shit because he's been so long at it that the hex now makes sense to him. But we now have like editing templates for EFX. We figured out some of the weirder, like most crazy, like some of the weird, like audio, for example. Silvris just completely blew up audio, found the looping points with the help of Fate and its Burpee and Copper Canister. Like they just, audio is one of those things that I it's the one modding topic that I don't do myself because I hate the audio format for World and wouldn't subject myself to it for any amount of money or like for any reason really.
So you mean I can't pay you to get the Shrek pendant to have audio with it?
Oh,
I mean, you can pay me, and what I'll do is I'll grab like 90% of the money you pay me and give it to someone else to do it for me.
Okay,
I'm not touching audio. But audio got completely like blown open in terms of like figuring structures out by Silvris. For example, for models, the model format was being slowly chipped away until we got a big breakthrough thanks to CrazyT in December of 2018. And then the model format was basically like, okay, we broke through the important stuff. Then I found out like how normals work, how skeletons work to get the bows working, and my baby Dodogama working. And
wait, back it up. Baby Dodogama?
Oh yeah, the baby Pogi. That I released on Base World.
Pogi. Okay, I thought you had like a little like Palico replacement pet that was a little baby Dodogama.
No. That was the Pogi replacement. Like I figured out how bones work in the mod 3 format. But come Iceborne, when we were working on maps, we found out that like the last remaining sections were for bounding boxes for how the game should render map assets. And with that, it's like the format is 97% mapped. At this point, it's like we've already almost completely figured out the entirety of the format. It's like there's no more corners to turn. We're like one small section which does nothing so far that we've been able to tell away from exporting files as if we were fucking Capcom in terms of models.
Nice.
Materials has a lot of like materials got completely blown open on base game by CrazyT disassembling the shader and me writing the material editor. But a lot of material like kinks, specific things like, okay, this weird material for some fucking reason allows shit to look like glass, or this fucking material can be animated to change over time. Those things were basically done in Iceborne out of people just throwing themselves at it for specific things that they wanted, like Akko and Silvris also. We need this shit because we want it to look like this, and it's just like throw yourself at the problem until eventually like you just figure out like if you combine these three weird shits that make no fucking sense, you can make this other weird shit that makes no fucking sense but looks amazing. We'll be seeing a lot of that in the mod showcase in terms of how far some of the visuals have come.
So speaking of that and materials and stuff, I do gotta point out that the Doom armor that I've been using for fucking 2 years now at this point, thank you very much for that. It still does have a problem with when it's near snow or water where the chest piece is like see-through, like it blends in with the stuff, it goes all super fucked up.
Oh, fam, that armor was made the moment that we got like model importing. That armor
it's been
is
a long
like
time ago. I've been using it for 2 years.
Yeah. That thing was made when we had the technology of cavemen.
Yeah, can I pay you for an update?
Like, yes, you may. Reasonable rates apply.
Dude, done. All right, got it. You get updated Doom armor.
And we also like, for example, for maps, we've also like just so basically 3 weeks. Yeah, it's 3 weeks ago. Jin told me on a Friday like, wanna do a round 2 of the podcast like tomorrow, and I said, okay, can it be on Sunday? So I have some time to prepare. And one of the insane ideas I had was like, okay, let's make a map for the podcast. And like, we have the tools, we've been sitting on them for months. Nobody has like made significant advances for a while. So like, I assume like this is a solved problem. Let's just make a map in a weekend. It'll be fine. It turns out we were missing some things, but eventually, like with a team of 6 people, we basically in a week just bulldozed through so much of map data and solved so much shit regarding how monsters behave on new maps and stuff. Just out of like, let's get this into a workable state for the podcast.
So, so I haven't seen the video. Do we have a custom map we can load into?
I can neither confirm nor deny the allegations, but I can say that we did so much fucking science in a week just from a deadline, and just having people like go super focused on like splitting labor and going like, okay, Miralles, you're gonna be porting the materials, while Akko is working on the models and I'm working on the map placement stuff, and hey Dave, can you help us with the navigation? Moonbunnie, can you help map this file? And just working on simultaneous like a well-oiled machine. We basically wrecked around 3 or 4 file formats and figure out like shit that we had been sitting on for months, and we're just like, yeah, it probably works. Someone just has to sit down and actually do it, and we actually did that.
Deadlines work. So you just said a bunch of names that I'm sure a lot of people who aren't familiar with the modding community, or even people who are, don't really recognize. So are there any other major modders that people might not know about, because stuff like that where the work is like just totally behind the scenes and people don't actually see?
Yeah, so the biggest names, which people don't know, is CrazyT. CrazyT was the one that originally figured out the mod-free, like he was the first one to make an importer for for Monster Hunter World models. I then helped him and built the second version with a lot of improvement and finding that we had. He also blew open the shaders, and that's how we got the material. That's how I helped him make that. That's how we made the material editor, basically. CrazyT is basically the forefather of everything that's visual modding in a way, because he was the one that just completely wrecked the big steps in the major visual formats. We have DMQW is a Chinese modding group which has been working with us since the beginning, and they were the ones that basically structure EFX. So they were the one. Crimson was looking at hex signatures and looking in binary at what patterns repeated. The Chinese people at DMQW basically structure everything. Like they told us like, okay, this block corresponds to this sort of data. EFX is one of the most complex, heavy, convoluted formats because of how powerful and how diverse they are. Okay. And DMQW, Ice, Ryu, Canny, Fox were the ones, and Tail basically were the ones that structured it and got it into something that's much more editable by humans. In terms of like major stuff, probably the biggest name that nobody knows is legendff. legendff was the one that completely figured out the encryption for the chunks. Without him, we would still have like there would be files that we wouldn't be able to decrypt. He was the one that also blew up the safe encryption on the first on base game. Legend has done so much and nobody knows, because it's not like final. It's not work that the user's seeing. He does a lot of like memory mapping work. Yeah, without him, we wouldn't have like the decrypted chunks, which is basically like modding would be so much lesser if it were not for him.
Then you hear that, people? Get on his Patreon.
Get on it.
Then we have like Views and Jodo. Views is well known because he's been with the community for a long time, and he does release mods. But Views and Jodo work on the Unchunker, which is also like how we get the game files, and that's also massive, because without that we wouldn't have the game files. Jodo also work on the texture tool. He's basically the sole maintainer of the texture tool, which is what converts like textures from the Monster Hunter World format into something that you can actually edit. But like every single modder that works with visual stuff has Jodo converter on his PC, but it's not something that the users will ever see. Then you have like researchers that are not as high profile as others, but they are doing like some insane work. It's just that they don't they do occasionally release amazing stuff, but it's like they are not as well known as people that are just constantly releasing, which would be Silvris. Silvris is a wunderkid which map like hundreds and hundreds of formats. Every time he sits down, like one more format gets cracked. He goes for super weird stuff like monster break, how part breaks are displayed in the game and how they're connected with like triggers. Like you break a part, like why does that specific texture change? Like why does that EFX play? That's MPI files, and he did a shit ton of work on those. He's done a shit ton of work with timeline files, which control like dynamic transitions, VM files. Like we mapped that. He did like one half of a massive pile of work in terms of that. Like Silvris just maps shit out, and well, audio. Like he's basically one of the giants of audio insofar as like figuring out things, writing scripts for audio, etc. We also have Ice, DMQW Ice. He's a Chinese modder from the DMQW modding group. He did like his work all over the place, collision files, his help with EFX. Like he just in general does amazing shit. Like he's also done plugin work like a developer console for Monster Hunter World using the chat window. Then you have like the data miners, which are massively important to what we do, because like having someone go like, oh yeah, I know how that works in memory. Oh, hey, it's in this file. Like I've seen it before when I was trying to assemble this, like Moonbunnie and Deathcream. They do insane work in terms of mapping shit in memory, in terms of figuring out how the files work, in terms of like what's where. And also like they do a gigantic service, not just to the modding community, but also the Monster Hunter community in general by having like the numbers, the formulas, because
they have all the data for numbers, motion values, frame data, all that stuff.
It's their work is frankly like it's amazing, and I don't think anybody can thank them enough for all the work they do. Like I personally cannot thank them enough for like not just the work they do. I regularly work with Moonbunnie in terms of like getting things which he maps out in memory into working plugins like the CRC bypass, like the invisible mantles, and most of the Ice plugins are done by us. He's amazing as a co-worker in a way. Then you have like in terms of map stuff and also file forming is like DaveUrRr, which like he does have some mods like the Better Wedge Beetles. He did
DaveUrRr has my favorite mod, which is the camera mod.
He doesn't like release a mod every single month, but he does do a shit ton of work in terms of map. I mostly work with him in terms of like mapping out map formats, working on getting a functional map editor ongoing through the mess of files. And he does a shit ton of work that's like not as well known, because map editing is not something that's quite yet on the point where we can actually release the tools and go like, okay, you can make custom maps like independent of how capable you are of hex editing like 2 billion fucking files. Cool. I think those are the biggest names of like people. Like I would say like Strucker, but everyone knows fucking Strucker because Strucker Loader, and it's.
How did Strucker get involved in this? By the way, I still don't know that. It just came out of nowhere, as far as I know.
It's not quite out of nowhere. Strucker was working with Fandairos and Lyra on monster editing in memory before. He in base game he had been working with them in terms of mapping monster actions in memory, and he was doing the. Fandairos is a guy that works basically with hex and assembly. Very raw formats. Lyra works mostly with models, but also does some minor hex editing, mainly for animation horrors. Strucker is the guy that has this expertise to go from binary into higher level programming in terms of like disassembling. And he was helping them in terms of mapping out, I believe it was monster actions and general like monster code flow. So when Iceborne hit, he pivoted from his work in memory for those topics into getting native PC working back again.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I thought he just came out of nowhere. I didn't know he was working with Fan and Lyra. Cool. So I'm gonna give a toast for all the unknown modders out there, because they are seriously propping us up.
Put in that work.
Much appreciated. Alright. I need to change my battery in my headphone real quick.
Cool. We got the video coming now, right?
Yep.
Big old Big Daddy's mod video. This is gonna be a good one, chat. You're gonna enjoy this. Right. I've only seen bits and pieces, but it looks good.
I haven't seen anything. Okay. So I guess now is a good time to move over to the video.
Yeah. So when the podcast release, I'll probably like release I'll unprivate the video so that people can also access it like individually if they just want to.
Oh, okay,
to
yeah, that'd be cool.
And I think we're good to go.
Okay, let me get this thing up. I got my thing here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play in 3, 2, 1. Play, and then Asterisk, if you want to just narrate this as what we're seeing over here.
Well, the video does have audio, and I've also like tagged most of it, but I'll try to pipe in if there's something relevant. This was the last mod that was made, the last big project that was made for Monster Hunter base game. It was a Christmas mod pack, which had like this gigantic list of modders. It started as a joke, basically me telling Lyra that, hey, can you make Kushala the red-nosed reindeer? And Lyra interpreted it as make a Rudolph monster out of scratch and give it custom moveset, please. And then Knack said, I'll port all of the Christmas outfits and weapons from Monster Hunter Online. And it just exploded into this gigantic Christmas mod pack that lasted like 2 weeks before Iceborne made it obsolete.
Wow.
I remember seeing this way back in the day. Yeah, the whole one-shot Rudolph beam thing was really crazy.
Yeah, but it had a generous enough like rolling like time frame that
you just gotta get good.
We have to thank Capcom for all of the modding work they done by trying to disable us, and then the people pulling the work to remove Capcom's work.
I miss these sounds, man. Damn. Oh. Monster Hunter is a real chill-ass tune to it, man. Like a real gamer tune. Like all the music, at least for World and Iceborne, like it really flows, man. Like you can get involved in this game. I love this game.
So this has been like something that had been going on since like before Iceborne, which was custom title screens, which is the work of Dave.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that.
That was way better.
How does he record those title screens? Is he just like free cam record it and put it over it, or is?
No, it's all done like basically by code. He makes the in-game camera like move. It's not pre-recorded. It's like being rendered in real time from map assets.
Oh, that's crazy.
This is Monster Cam. It's an extension of the free cam that lets you follow monsters. Now we go into the task section. So a few weeks ago, TSC started going hard at, like, he came back to running, and I put him in contact with Moonbunnie, and Moonbunnie got him the power
is this
of macros.
The shortening of ledges so he can do his ledge
Yeah,
stuff?
well, not shortening. I went into the maps and started analyzing the geometry and finding which were the critical angles that allowed some tricks to be done. So we would know through the files which sections were promising, and we would know what the distance was from ledge to ground in terms of like actual height without guessing. And Moonbunnie would use this to time the shots so that the macro would always be reliable independent of where you were standing. So it would auto-adjust the timing as needed.
Shout out to TSC for putting out this Ledge Light Boga and Task Shield. This model editing. This looks like pillar.
Yeah, this is so a lot of tooling was done for model editing in Iceborne, like making things simpler, like the static armature tools. Oh, EFX.
Oh, Crimson put out the lightning bow. I've been asking him for this forever. The lightning string.
That looks so sick.
Oh, and there's your fucking Xeno bow. Thing is crazy.
Yeah, this was for me the showcase of material research, like moving materials, transparent materials. Crimson went ham with the emission EFX and the animations, like the little wings that only show up when you are charging.
Crazy. Oh, is this the Moonlight Longsword?
Yeah, and this is
that looks so good.
Material effects combined with EFX. Like this is a mix of weapon materials, which are the sort of special textures, combined with actual EFX work for them to animate.
Oh, he's actually got the poke from Bloodborne Moonlight Greatsword. That's so cool.
This is a demonstration of the shovels.
What the fuck?
PMs.
Oh, you can move all the snow too?
Yeah, that's shovel. And if you notice, the shockwave is also like oscillating, and that's done through VM vertex mapping. And your favorite mod.
His favorite.
Shrek the movie as a pendant. I fucking love it.
The entire Shrek movie. How long is that thing? 1 hour 50, I think.
It was worth it. You put too much time into it. It started out as a joke, but it's the best pendant in the game.
It's not a joke to me.
It's not a joke to me either.
Oh,
I fucking
it's
love
not
it.
a joke to me.
This was Crimson helping me with
that's cool.
rotation parenting. So the actual technical side of this is that having rotations which are like co-dependent with other rotations, like on a gyroscope, is actually requires an enormous amount of work. This was rotational CTCs, which is the yeah.
The fucking helicopter glaive? Holy shit!
Why don't y'all just make your own video game at this point? God damn.
This is
Clearly
particle cloning for EFX.
That's fancy. Fancy gun lance. Oh, sweet, dude. That's a awesome, like, chainsaw switch axe. That is so cool. That's more of the rotating particle stuff, right?
That looks sick.
It's a combination of two different techniques being used in parallel. You're going to be seeing more of this on this section, which is the more advanced side of visual modding. For example, timeline coloring, which allows you to recolor things in real time.
Oh, neato. Okay. I like that. So you can do changes to color effects whenever you want. Okay. What the fuck is that?
This is the crawl. This is research into vertex mapping, which allows real-time editing of models. It might seem like a quaint distraction in terms of like, okay, I can make a crow in a ball go into a cube. But right now we're going to be seeing a more applied example. So one of the things that we had to do was actually get tooling for this, because the format is like Silvris and me worked on the format and we figured out like how it works on binary, but editing it is not exactly easy if you're doing it in binary, obviously, like with most model stuff. So I wrote an editor for the vertex mapping, which basically allow you to edit animations without having to do bone animations.
Aster,
so this
so
allows.
Cool.
Thanks.
Very intelligent.
So what I did was try to figure out what was the most comfortable way of getting this sort of like specific animations into something that would work well with how Blender works with models. There was a lot of me just hitting Blender with a wrench and asking him where are the children. But I think the editor got into a state which was like accessible for, well, not most people, because not everyone is going to be using this sort of like modding. But for the use cases where it's useful, it's amazing. And I think that this example is proof of that.
That's cool. I like seeing they have the whole thing when you drag it across the timeline. Oh, these are the claws that actually like do finger things. Oh, these are the Gormagala claws.
Yeah, that's done by Static and my apprentice.
Oh, that's so cool. The fingers, like, yeah, they just fucking grab. That's so neato.
This was also rotational CTCs. The valve is driven by physics, like the valve cap, the cap at the top of the gun lance, and
that's so cool.
It's available in Nexus. It's been available in Nexus for a while.
I haven't since I took my break from Monster, and I haven't checked Nexus in a while. That's a sweet ass gun lance. The fucking steam engine.
Yeah, this was the first project together with Akko. Akko is actually, it's already officially my apprentice in terms of working with me in trying to find out like models, cool stuff with models. She also is Lyra's apprentice in terms of 3D modeling. This was Silvris'
What the fuck?
Weapons that resize when you unsheath.
Can I get the fucking dildo greatsword that expands when you charge it?
Yes.
Hey, this is good.
And we can make it floppy, we can make it grow spikes over time.
We
have so many ways.
That's awesome.
Invisible
and something
mantles.
That people have been asking, that people have been asking.
Nobody likes fucking mantles, come on. Good, yeah, invisible mantles, I like it.
This also demonstrates like one of the main features of the game, which is that even my fucking system has issues with it, despite being not being bad. Capcom program is just that bad.
Oh, okay, that's not mean. That is actually the frame rate is just shit.
Yeah. Thanks, Capcom, for fucking over an i7 and a 1080.
No scope. This is, again, one of the mods I fucking love. Thank you, Dave, for making this, because you can't fucking use scope with heavy bowgun, and with that, it's so much better. I love it.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep quiet for this one, because this one is quite a ride.
fuck is that?
Someday I need to teach you how to be helpful.
What the fuck? Oh, is that a near critter? That is a near critter.
Yes, that is Nier Automata UI.
What the fuck? What the shit is going on?
Look at the health booster.
I am. I'm seeing the icons and the UI and the fucking berserk icon, and what the fuck is all this shit showing up? What the fuck was that? That's kind of fucking crazy.
That's a UI mod still in progress by NSA Cloud.
Oh my god.
And this is, if you listen closely, you'll hear that the music is looping properly. Like it has the opening sound, but then it actually loops inside of itself. Custom looping is something that had been the goal of audio editing for quite a while, and Silvris finally got around it and even made scripts to make it much easier for people to actually implement it within their mods.
That's cool.
Like most people don't even know that you can loop things properly because how hard it was, but I think it's now much more accessible, and it's all thanks to Silvris research. Silvris and Fate.
Thank you, Silvris and Fate. Audio is always important. That was a lot of audio mods out there, I noticed. Turn up the volume on this thing.
I got it up pretty loud.
So is this custom guild hall music then?
Poke Village, I think. Yeah, it's a custom guild gathering hub replaced with the Poke Village theme. It's now available on Nexus.
Go check it out, people.
And now the reason that most people come for the mod showcases. Monsters.
That's a big ass Dodogama.
What I did in base game was replace Pogi with a monster model, but it was still like a model edit. What Lyra has done is replaced Pogi with actual Dodogama, including Dodogama animations.
What the fuck?
Yeah, look at its tail. Like,
he'll actually
its tail
just kinda
actually
like
wiggles.
He'll still hang around. Oh my god, he just fucking lays down. Oh dude, I need that. Is that available?
That's sick.
Not yet. She's still working out some of the kinks of the entire thing.
I need that. I want a fucking doo-doo just laying around. Oh my god, that's so good.
Lyra, I believe she mentioned that she planned to make it also small, so that you have all of the animations of Dodogama, but it's also small.
I love Dodogama so much. He just fucking hangs around. Oh, that's so good.
It has it's the actual monster, and like people will ask like what the mod I did for base game, which was like the baby Pogi replaced by a Dodogama model. You don't have the animations. You don't have the
right. It was just a bone edit.
Yeah, it's just a model edit. A project by Lyra and Neko doing what Capcom, which is
what the fuck?
Fucking Fightable Sora. Yeah, it might not look like much, but just getting Sora to load as a monster and not crash the game is already impressive. And then they go on and did this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lyra, please demonstrate. God damn it.
You're off by a
I thought
little
that I could time it.
That's interesting. So what's the problem with getting is it getting Zora to load on any map that's not that fucking ravine?
It's
so
not just
big.
It's not just getting Sora to load. It's also enabling things like this.
Actually, you can clutch claw him.
Yep. It's getting Sora to be fightable. That's hard. Like giving him AI, giving him the move, the animation. Like Sora just is a mess. Like his siege is infamous for how like duct taped together it is, and this is basically like writing a monster from scratch. In that, okay, you have the model, you have the ideas, and some files here or there, but there's also a shit ton of work that you are doing to get this thing to be actually fightable.
So is that
And
something
also
that
research
Lyra's
to
working on, like
found
trying to
solutions.
get Zora to actually be a fightable monster?
Yeah, to be a proper fight in an area like Shara is, for example.
Interesting.
But I mean, it's also all of the research that accompanies it, like being collidable with Clutch Claw, having areas that you can transition from one spot to the other, like making the monster be able to die. Things like the monster is able to die are surprisingly harder to make than most people would probably
Well,
assume.
when it's not programmed to die, I can imagine, yeah.
Like
Interesting.
make them programmed to part break, like making sure that the part breaks actually show that the part is breaking, and there's the back end is also aware that the part has been broken. All of that things have to basically be modded in if the game doesn't already have like the base. And for Sora, like Sora is more of a map than a monster in many ways. This is Silvris Sport Project, a monster from Frontier.
Yeah, is this the I forgot what the fuck this thing's called. It's like a Teostra thing, right? It's like a Teostra subspecies.
Yeah. You can see the
That
name
looks sick.
on bottom right. It's called Toa.
Oh,
Uh,
Toa Tetsukatora, okay.
Yeah. In Japanese, Teostra is Teo Tetsukatora and Lunastra is Nana Tetsukatora. So in English, if this monster had been released, it would probably just be Toa. Or something completely different because Capcom.
Yeah.
Uresu.
Interesting. So I last seen this back in base game, so they actually got it working a lot better now. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it just got Teo's moveset for now, or is it just a model replacement?
Yeah, he's still working on replacing the EFX and also the moveset.
Okay, cool. Cool to see him in
Badass.
though.
Silvris has done like a lot of visual work with monsters in terms of mapping files, including like, for example, how part breaks are linked together. I'm not sure if we get to see it on this particular case.
Is this the
he's
Ava
also put in
Brachydios?
Yeah,
That's funny.
Shinji getting the fucking robot.
That's awesome.
That's funny, dude. Ava Brachy.
This is one of the many collaborations that I think this one is also from Frontier, or there was this in the
Everything
of the
cool
older
from
games.
Frontier.
Except Frontier and the community.
Except Frontier itself. I need the Attack on Titan Double Joe. That's just like the flesh pickle.
That one was also on, I think, Generations.
No, it wasn't in Gen.
I know there was an Attack on Titan DLC.
Not in Gen or GU. No, maybe not on the American side at least. I don't recall one. This is a Frontier thing.
Second generation Rathian with second generation Rathian sounds.
Okay.
Yes, I know what's going
is-
through your mind. Why? The question is why?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm
exactly what I'm
confused
thinking.
on
Why? Why Monster Hunter 2 Rathian?
Well,
So,
one of the
okay,
things that
sorry,
he's mentioned is that you know how Monster Hunter 1 had Monster Hunter 1 had something fascinating for Rathian actually, which was that Rathian was one of the first monsters to be coded, and it had a mechanic that's never been like present in any game. I don't think it even released in Monster Hunter 1, which was Rathian had a break that no other monster in the game has. Her head was severable.
What?
Yeah, Monster Hunter 1 during the beta, Rathian head was severable, and in the files for Monster Hunter 1, and because the Monster Hunter 1 files were obviously reused because Capcom is so environment friendly that they recycle and reuse basically everything. Rathian has like her model is designed so that you can sever the head. And,
So did he put that in this?
not yet, but it's something that he's been like considering seriously, given that it's like such a hallmark of people that played Monster Hunter 1 prototype. Like, this is ancestral times. This is the time of Jin, basically, when he was still young and hip.
Oh shit! He's alive!
Okay, this is done by Lyra, and I think we all know who commissioned this.
Yeah,
He's trying to
big
basically
shocker.
commission a collab.
That's sick.
This is the Marauder from Doom Eternal as basically a Leshen variant. Oh my god, he looks so good. I love how he's got like a flame teleport, but I think Crimson has talked about making it actually like step in through a portal really quick when he teleports. He's got axe swings and he's got fucking shotgun shots.
Badass.
Oh my god. Oh, I cannot wait to fucking fight this thing. Holy shit. I haven't seen, like, Lyra sent me like one screenshot of it like a month, like 2 months ago maybe. Oh my god. It's the first time I'm seeing it. What the fuck? Oh, and then, okay, Lyra sent me a screenshot of this thing, Abioro Guru, whatever the fuck it is. Finishing up that. Oh my god, I can't wait to fight all these fucking monsters.
This one
It's got
has
like a special
customization.
attack that like totally like is like his signature shit. I forget what it is though.
We are going to be seeing that.
Looks awesome.
The infamous Tails land. And the cat actually stops it the first
And the
time.
cat's out. No, he
And
did
there
it
is.
again. But okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, and this looks so good too.
This looks really, really good.
Oh my god, I cannot fucking wait for this shit. Oh shit, he's got fire breath too.
Glider mantle, respect.
Watch noob cards from
Dude,
above.
Lyra is putting in some work. Yeah, he's got that tail slam with a shockwave
Yoink.
on it too. What if you do like the Devil Joe edit where Apex Devil Joe would slam his feet on the ground and cause the shockwave? Wonder you could do that again.
It's possible. It's just making the effects and making the collision modes.
I like that. The effects look natural too. It looks
Oh,
good.
I say it's just insofar as like in paper. In actual practice, it's like you actually have to go and do this. This is something I believe Fem is also familiar with.
Oh yes,
Which is-
I've just been playing Ice. This is the Omni Lance with the guard point on the quick reload and the aerial full burst shortcut after quick reload.
A lot of animation work has been pioneered by, well, Strucker was one of the ones that actually started working on animations in terms of getting them importable into Blender. Lyra and Argent have been working on mapping the animations and also hex editing sections of the file. ASD was the one that did most of the weapon mapping in terms of like having which
Oh
ID
shit! What the
corresponds-
fuck is that? I've never seen that.
And this
Aerial
is the
greatsword?
true it's
What
Oh
is this?
shit! You can do
These
the
are-
mount attack from shoulder charge, or
These are
Yeah.
the weapon edits by Radiant and Dyrus.
and it gets charge bonuses. Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh yeah, I'm well aware of the ammunition in Femborn. This is Alrighty's Tri-Blast ammo. This is replacing.
Yes, this is
slicing.
the showcase for Trials.
So Tri-Blast does KO and does a bunch of different hits. It's basically a special ammo from previous games added back in. And then
And this is the Omnilance.
This is Omnilance, where Gunlance has all the shelling properties of all of the Gunlance types, so you can play Lance however you want. Everything is good, and I just finished my Ice playthrough with it, and I fucking loved it. I love the Gunlance. I suck with it, but holy shit. God High, Dan, and Samgrass, who've been helping balance this thing and add it,
Nice job, boys.
They've done a great job on it. It's so much fun. Capcom doesn't know how to make a Gunlance. These guys do. Just do whatever you want. Well, I don't know why Capcom fucked up the shelling types. Just let everything be good.
And this is Moonbunny's changes to Longsword. They're not going to be as flashy as, well, Omnilance, but basically he's changed the way that Spirit Gauge works in terms of what moves consume what part of the Gauge and how much you level them up. MVs has also been tuned to be in
Oh,
line
cool.
with
So
this.
you can actually do these combos infinitely because they don't take full gauge now. They take like half and quarter.
Yeah, there's obviously have been MV changes to fit accordingly, and it's basically a rework to change longsword so that one elemental motion values have been changed so that longsword is not an elemental weapon, but it's at least reasonable to bring the right element for that.
That's
and now
flashy
comes
though.
the gem of the crown, I feel, for the mod case, for the mod showcase.
Oh, what's this? Is this the tower from Monster Hunter 4? What the fuck is this? I feel like I'm in like a fucking dev diary. What the shit is all this crap? This is a custom map. You did fucking make like the fucking tower.
So this is the IPR editor. It's the asset placement editor. Dave was the one that mapped most of the files. I converted it into something that was workable in Blender.
What the fuck? Fuck Capcom, we can make our own games now. What the shit is this?
This looks sick.
This is an arena. Dude, this is so cool. Holy fuck.
And you can spawn monsters on this already?
No, don't spoil it. I'm sure it's gonna have something, but dude, it looks so good. It looks so real and natural too. Holy shit. What the fuck? How the fuck did you make this from scratch?
You know,
Big brain.
with a team of amazing people. It's been a joy working with them. This is the collision editor. This is required so that you don't fall through infinity.
So you can't be fucking Alatrion and not hit a wall bang. Oh, Monster Hunter World, or Monster Hunter Online monsters. Is this the what the fuck is these subspecies called? The
Meraginasu.
okay, I can't.
It's from Monster Hunter Online. It was originally they were gonna make a Kirin variant, Ink Kirin or Dark Kirin. Meraginasu was what came instead after Capcom couldn't actually program it. And now, actual fightable monster on actual new map. Doesn't replace
That's
any of the
sick.
existing maps.
Fuck Capcom, dude. Who's got Legiana, fucking dives.
At the moment, it's mostly a modded Legiana, but Nag is obviously still working on it to make him faithful to his original incarnation from Monster Hunter Online. So for a bit of background, monsters cannot die, monsters cannot be status unless you explicitly find a way of giving them navigation meshes. Dave was basically researched that in 2 days together with Moonbunnie. Monsters need zones so that they have transition points. Even if there's only a single zone, monsters still need at least the arena files have a transition zone. It's just that the entire file is a single zone, but you still have to actually edit that, which is what I was focusing on with the help of Moonbunnie as well. The clouds that you see are done through a map EPD, which is calling an EFX that was done by Crimson. Map assets are ported from Monster Hunter Online with the help of Miralis, Akko, and myself, who were working on. We basically did all of the visual stuff in terms of porting the assets in 2 days. We actually wanted to have this ready for the first week of for the first week that the podcast was announced before we delayed it for 2 more weeks. All of the visual side of the map was basically done in 2 days through focused slave labor. It got us the pyramids.
So this is a brand new monster. This is not a replacement. This is its own thing.
Yeah, well, it still runs over like Legiana stuff. It doesn't replace Legiana.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. So it's not going to replace all the instances of Legiana with this. This is its own thing.
It separate. This map doesn't replace anything. It's also like its own thing.
Wow.
That's sick.
The biggest part was allowing the monster to die, because surprisingly, monsters will not die unless they are killed.
Really weird.
And the game accepts that they are dead, which if they don't, they just exist in a state with one hit point running into a wall.
Gotcha. And then I assume
So
from this point we can make custom materials, armors, and weapons for this monster.
Well, after Miralis, it would be desirable to expand the number of armors available, etc. As long as we can isolate multiplayer so you're not crashing other people, which we're able to thanks to Ice.
I know, right? Because Ice is an isolated game.
There you go. There you go.
Holy shit,
Very cool
dude.
stuff, man. Very cool stuff.
That's the end? Ah, that's the end? Holy shit. Oh my god, dude, Aster. I haven't seen any of that stuff. Oh my god, there is so much good shit there. What the fuck? Oh
The
my
imported
god.
monsters are the best part for me, I think.
The fucking Marauder. But no, there's so much cool shit. I am speechless at this point. You guys are doing some ridiculous shit, man. I don't even know what to say. What the fuck?
It's pretty badass, man.
I am so excited. This feels like there's a new Monster Hunter game coming out, and
Temporarily, yeah, we got this coming. It's gonna be good.
This
So
has
the next
been
one
the work of close to half a year. Well, it's more like 10 months since Iceborne released. In reality, the work goes all the way to when the game launched, in a way, because we're building the documentation, we're building the file formats, but more importantly, we're building the community of people which are like communicating these things, writing them down, talking to each other, figuring out things out, and specializing. In a way, having people that are focused on one topic allows them to get much deeper, and also understanding the files versus just blind edits means that we can make this sort of custom stuff much more organized. Because if we were like just tinkering with little bytes, like sure, we could edit a map, but making a map from scratch is a different sort of endeavor in that sense. So all of this work is, as Newton said, it's built on the shoulder of giants, and in that sense, like I feel that the community is like just fantastic for the game.
oh
The
my
way
god, it's fucking
been
amazing. Dude, I'm so giddy right now. You don't even know.
Good shit, dude. Good shit.
after Capcom is done with Death Diaries, I should consider starting one. Just like sitting with two
no,
modders.
seriously, if you want to keep doing like a mod diaries and just keep posting on that and just see what, you know, new shit's coming out or updates on old shit, I am totally on board because I want to know everything.
Definitely got some cool stuff in the pipeline, man. I'm excited. Really want to see it.
Oh
so,
my god.
so obviously, a lot of this is work in progress. Like it's a showcase of research more than modding, because there's a shit ton of mods on Nexus. Like I don't think any single person can know everything that's coming out on Nexus, but I feel that this is the bleeding edge in terms of like what people are going to be seeing, like how far we can push the game. A lot of these mods are obviously like not available yet. The creators are still working on the kinks. For my part, for example, for the map editing, we plan on adding at least one other unique monster, and also figuring out adding some more quests and making more monsters fightable there, because it's a flat arena, which I think a lot of people will be excited about.
Yep.
We've also left a little section with horrible geometry near the stairs, so that you can still do weird shit.
You can
there.
still abuse your Legends gen.
There we go.
Yeah. And in a way, that project forced us to actually go and find things thanks to deadlines. And
wow.
It was an amazing experience. I really enjoyed working with the people there: Miralis, Knack, Akko, Dave, Moonbunnie, Crimson, and now we're going to start working with Silvris in terms of like what other monsters can we throw in there.
Throw more in the blender.
Sky's the
Good
limit
shit,
at this point. Fuck Monster Hunter 6. I don't even care about that shit anymore. Let's just keep on fucking World. Holy
Keep
fuck.
them coming. Keep them coming. Keep 'em
Aster,
coming.
I can't tell you how fucking excited I am after seeing that. Like, you don't even know. I can't even put it into words. I am so fucking elated to see all that crazy shit. Ice is getting there. We'll have that out soon, I'm sure, sometime after
Progress.
Fatalis. Seeing all like the even like the longsword, greatsword, gunlance edits on Ice. Oh my god, I didn't even know that shit was happening because I'm only focused on the bowgun part of it.
There's also Switch X edits, which didn't make it in the video because Portal didn't send any sort of footage that I could use with
I've
script.
heard about that. So is Switch X getting a guard point?
Not a guard point. as far as I know, it's not getting guard point, but it's getting changes to evade distance, number of iframes, also meter management mechanics to make switch X much more fun to play. Because the goal with ice is not balancing is easy insofar as you're going for numbers. Well, not easy. Balancing is hard work, but it's not as complex as making the weapon fun to play. For example, if you remove the damage from bow is still fun because of the playstyle it has.
Sure.
In that sense, the goal with a lot of the weapon changes, I feel, is oriented towards making the weapon fun to play, so that you, independent of how much damage you're doing, because we know that Hunting Horn players have fun, despite their weapon
Hunting Horn's
being
the best fucking weapon.
There you go.
Despite it being numerically equivalent to subatomic particle in terms of damage, the weapon style lends itself to being fun. In a way, I feel that that's what all weapons should be aiming for, like being fun to play, independent of damage, because damage can be changed. It's numbers. Right. It's more the meter management mechanics, the moves, etc. that makes a difference.
Stop giving me so much shit for all the femborn gun changes. I get it. Shit's OP. I'm working on it. But because I keep adding. So people who don't know, I keep getting shit for femborn because I keep adding custom MOs and shit.
You're missing half of the bowguns don't have stats because you removed them.
I fixed it. Arati hasn't updated it. I fixed everything. All the bowguns, even the low rank stuff, because I just went through the full game. All the low rank, high rank, and all the bowguns all have MO tables appropriate for their bowguns, except like 2, like the Frost Fang Barioth, because that was not in at the time, and Electron, because I don't know what to do with Electron right now, because we kind of gutted elemental MOs. That's it. Everything else is good.
Galahad posts a speedrun where he goes below base game times.
I fixed it. That was already fixed before Arati even sent me the videos. I fixed the rapid fire cluster shit, the rapid fire wyvern. I fixed it. Trust me.
Rapid fire cluster. Why did it exist in the first place?
Nobody cares about cluster. I gave one bowgun the ability to rapid fire cluster 2s. Well, they're cluster 3s now, but it's gonna click 2. We don't have spare shot anymore. It's not that crazy. It was crazy. I didn't think it would be. I fixed it though. I'll deal with it. Then we lost Jin.
Did Jin finally die from the bleach that was on his basement?
Yeah, I think Jin probably died.
Jin is dead. Can't keep briefing as it is. For God.
Okay, Jin's out.
His generation survived asbestos.
We should probably cut it here, but Jin's out. So, okay, thank you so much, Aster, for showing up and showing me all this shit. And I cut out the videos because we fucked everything up. But I had so much fun. You don't even know.
And I really enjoyed here showing Mother's work. I really enjoyed going into a project just for the shows, for the podcast, and it ending up being more work than the actual podcast. I love the modding community. Shout out to like literally everyone. I would read the username list right now if it didn't take it's not that many. It's like 26, which I'll probably do, and then if I can edit in.
I can also put it in the YouTube description and all that stuff. Give me all the crap to put in the description too. So sounds good. So thank you, Aster, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Fem. Thanks, Gene Scorps.
Yep.
And I hope to be back eventually for round number 5.
Something like that, yeah. Okay, peace, man.